Imagine walking into school one morning, just like any other day, but by lunchtime, chaos, fear, and death would shatter everything you thought was safe. This wasn't just another tragedy, it was a turning point in history. But before we dive deep into this chilling story, don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Trust me, you'll want to share your opinion after hearing this, because today we're uncovering the horrifying story of the Columbine High School massacre. Part 1. The Calm Before the Storm. April 20th, 1999, Columbine High School, located in Littleton, Colorado. For most students, it was just another Tuesday. Tests, cafeteria food, and chatter about the upcoming prom. Nobody could have imagined that by the end of the day, the name Columbine would forever be linked with horror. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, two seniors at the school, walked into the building that morning with backpacks. But unlike everyone else's backpacks filled with books and pencils, theirs were filled with weapons, ammunition, and explosives. Part 2. Who were Eric and Dylan? Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold weren't just random troubled teens. Eric Harris, 18 years old, intelligent, tech-savvy, but deeply angry. His personal writings and videos showed extreme hatred towards society. Dylan Klebold, 17 years old, shy, depressed, feeling like an outsider. He followed Eric's lead, but had his own demons of despair. The two weren't bullied as much as people think. In reality, they had friends. They went to parties. But they built up a shared fantasy of destruction, believing the world had wronged them and they wanted revenge. Together, they created journals, videotapes, and plans for something much bigger than just a school shooting. Their original idea? A full-scale bombing. They wanted to surpass even the Oklahoma City bombing. Part 3. The Plan. Eric and Dylan carefully planned their attack for over a year. They constructed propane bombs in their garage. Their idea was to place two massive bombs in the cafeteria during lunch. If they detonated correctly, they could have killed hundreds in seconds. After the explosions, their plan was to shoot survivors fleeing the building. But fate played out differently. At 11:17 a.m., Eric and Dylan planted their bombs in the cafeteria. They set the timers and walked away. 11:19 a.m., the bombs failed to detonate. Frustrated but still determined, they pulled out their guns and began their shooting spree. Part 4. The massacre begins. At 11:19 a.m., outside the west entrance of Columbine High, Eric Harris pulled out his shotgun. Dylan Klebold drew his carbine rifle. Their first victims were two students sitting outside eating lunch, Rachel Scott, who tragically died instantly, and Richard Castaldo, who was seriously injured but survived. They then stormed the building. For the next 49 minutes, chaos erupted. Students hid under desks, in closets, and in classrooms. Teachers tried desperately to protect their students. The killers laughed, taunted their victims, and shouted phrases like, "This is what we always wanted." One of the most haunting parts of the massacre happened in the library. Within minutes, Eric and Dylan killed 10 students there, injuring many more. Survivors later described the killers as calm, almost detached, as if they were acting out a movie script they had written long before. Part 5. Police Response. Back in 1999, police didn't have active shooter training like today. Their response was slower, cautious. While shots rang out inside, officers surrounded the school but didn't immediately storm in. Students called 911 from under desks, whispering for help, describing the nightmare unfolding in front of them. Parents gathered outside, panicked, waiting for news. Inside, Eric and Dylan continued their rampage, firing indiscriminately, throwing pipe bombs, and searching for more victims. Part 6. The End of the Rampage. By 12:08 p.m., less than an hour after it began, the massacre ended. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold turned their guns on themselves inside the library, committing suicide. In total, 13 victims killed, 12 students, 1 teacher, 21 others injured, countless more scarred for life. If the bombs had worked, the death toll could have been in the hundreds. Part 7. The Aftermath. The Columbine Massacre shocked not just America, but the entire world. The media swarmed the story, painting Eric and Dylan as bullied outsiders, though the truth was far more complicated. It sparked national debates on gun control, school safety, bullying, mental health, and violent video games. Schools across the U.S. adopted new security measures, including lockdown drills, cameras, and school resource officers. For the survivors, the scars were permanent. Many suffered PTSD, survivor's guilt, and lifelong trauma. Parents mourned children whose lives were cut short simply for showing up to school that day. Part 8. Why did it happen? Experts still debate what truly motivated Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. Eric showed signs of psychopathy, cold, calculating, obsessed with control. Dylan was more depressed and suicidal, seeking an escape. Together, they became a deadly combination. Eric wanted destruction, Dylan wanted death. The massacre wasn't about bullying or video games or music. It was about 2 teenagers who created a fantasy of revenge and followed it through with chilling determination. The Columbine High School massacre was not the first school shooting in America, but it became the most infamous. It redefined how the world looked at schools, safety, and the potential for violence in ordinary places. Even today, over 2 decades later, the word Columbine is instantly recognized, not as just a high school, but as a symbol of tragedy. And that was the story of the Columbine High School massacre, a tragedy that still haunts America. If this story gripped you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you think tragedies like Columbine can ever truly be prevented, or are we destined to see them repeat in history? Let me know your thoughts down below.